And good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. My name is Matt Delvecchio, specializing in life transitions, home care, and the senior living industry.
And I'm Corrie Matt, a clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in grief and loss.
Coming right up on today's show, learn how to avoid being scammed. Well, we're going to have a representative from the SPVM talking about the latest scams and frauds out there and what we can do to prevent them. Corrie, have you ever been scammed?
Unfortunately, yes, and it is not fun. I had a credit card scam. A couple of times I have had it. Andy, my husband, has had it. It's not pleasant, and it's very overwhelming. Have you had that happen?
Yeah, it's same thing as you. It was a credit card. You don't realize it, of course, until you get your statement, and then your eyes pop out and say, "What?"
Yeah.
And fortunately, the credit card companies were quite good about it, and but yeah, it's really unnerving. You really feel violated because you have no idea this is happening.
Well, that, and not only that, I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit that Facebook ads, sometimes I read them, and when they say something is too good to be true, it probably is. It is. And so I have not once, twice ordered things online, found out that they were not what they said they were going to be. One would think you've got to learn. So it's not just, it's the credit cards, but there's so much, which is why I'm so happy to have the Agent Clive Olivier on today to talk about that, because there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, especially during the pandemic, it's going to be amazing what you're about to hear as to what is going on out there. So just before that, Corrie, what do we have coming up on the second half?
On our second half, in our ongoing segment on helping moms and dads, we're going to talk about how can senior living make your life better during the pandemic. That's going to be a very interesting segment, and it's coming up after the 3:30 news.
All right, let's hear from our SPVM representative. Looking forward to this.
No, absolutely. We are very pleased to have Agent Clive Olivier from the Economic Crimes section of the SPVM. He's here to talk about the latest scams and frauds, what's going on out there, and most and equally important, what we can do to prevent them. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Good morning.
Hi, I'm welcome. I got a little nervous. I thought we lost you out there. Okay. We are. Okay, I'm just glad to hear your voice. We're going to start with credit card fraud. As you heard earlier, it's extremely concerning, and I understand it's very popular since this pandemic has started. So, can you help us? How safe are our credit cards, and what do we need to do to protect ourselves?
Basically, since the pandemic started, everybody wanted to be paid with plastic, so no more cash. So that brought a lot of people that were not used to the credit card to a credit card or a debit card. Most of the time, everything works fine, except that we don't remember all the passwords, the PIN code, and everything. So we will have a tendency of always using the same one. So when we're using a credit card, as long as your PIN code is not used, you can always fight it with your company, and they will reimburse you, because most of the time the fraudster, if they get in contact or if you lose your wallet, they will use the flash and they will pay with that. That is covered with your credit card. But if your PIN number is being used by the fraudster, that's another story. They will usually refuse to reimburse you. Most of the people will used to have one PIN code to remember, even though we have 3, 4, 5 credit cards, but we'll always use the same. If we're using the same, those fine prints, the long pages of fine prints that nobody reads?
Yes.
Everybody's saying at the end, I'll just click, I agree. In those little fine prints there, it said that if you're using the same PIN code for everything, you might not get reimbursed if you get frauded. If you're using a PIN code that's too easy to remember, like your date of birth, your address, you won't get a reimbursement if you get frauded. Most of the people don't read that part.
For sure not, and I am so guilty. Oh my God, I am changing them today.
Agent Clive Olivier from the SPVM, and you were even mentioning prior to this interview, Agent Olivier, even people are putting their PIN codes on the back of their cards, which is a big no-no. And you mentioned keeping the same passwords. I think many people are guilty of using the same pins and passwords, and even the art of password making is advancing. So, Agent Olivier, can you give us some suggestions for creating proper passwords?
A proper password for your, let's say, your email or stuff like that. It should be like a full sentence, not a little word with a capital, a letter, a number, or a special character. Now, what we strongly suggest is to use a full sentence. I will not use my credit card, per example, without any space or nothing like that. So you can add a number, you can add your special character to it, but it's so long that it will be harder for the fraudster to guess it, unless you use the same sentence for all of your passwords and credit card and everything. That's another story.
I'm not going to lie. I did at one point. I was so frustrated with my password was password incorrect. That was my password.
This is my password.
No, password incorrect, because every time I would put it in, they'd go password incorrect. So I said, that's what I'm going to use. Anyways, I don't use it anymore, folks. So don't even try it if you get my credit card. Let's just talk about computer viruses. Also, because we're all home, majorly on our computers. It's very big during the pandemic. Can you give us some examples of what you're seeing in that respect?
Computer virus. Most of the people are not aware that their operating system will do his update by himself. So every time you log on, it's going to tell you that there's a little square that's going to pop up saying that you need to update whatever you need to update. So they don't pay attention to that. So when they're on the internet, they're surfing, and they want to read like a little video, and all of a sudden there's going to be a pop-up saying that your Flash player is not up to date, so you need to update it. So click here. Everything is on your computer the update is already done. So what you're doing, actually, you're downloading a virus inside of your system. 99% of the time, when it's asking you to do an update, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't click yes, nothing. That's the best way to get something inside of your system.
Very interesting. I think we've all seen those flash pop-ups and upgrade this, upgrade that. So yeah, if there's a link, don't click on that link. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed with Matt and Corrie, and we were talking with Agent Clive Olivier from the Economics Crime Section of the SPVM. Okay, Agent Olivier, I've heard of the term phishing, but there's a new term out there called smishing, which I was not aware of, and that has to do with text messaging fraud. Can you tell us a little bit more about smishing?
Okay, smishing, it's two words put together. It's SMS and phishing. So basically it comes to smishing. So new terms, we always have new terms in the computer world. There's always something new that's coming out. Smishing is when you're receiving a text from a company, somebody that you don't really know, and they're saying, like, per example, you're receiving a text saying that you're entitled to a reimbursement from Revenu Canada. So you're happy because you're going to get money from the government. So it says click here. So you click here, that's going to bring you to a page that looks like a page from the government of Canada, but unfortunately it is not. So they will ask you for your financial data. You're going to key everything in. Instead of receiving money, somebody will get access to your account and take your money.
So I guess the rule of thumb, and we're seeing it more and more, if you are getting a text and you don't know the source of that text, certainly don't click on any links, correct?
Yeah, there's no company that's going to send you a text with a link that's going to give you something. They usually is going to tell you, get on the website by yourself and do whatever needs to be done from there. If you're receiving a text saying click here to access something, you got a free gift, don't. That's usually they're going to ask you stuff.
That free gift will turn out to be a very expensive gift. All right, we have to head out to traffic. Agent Olivier, when we come back, another very popular scam and fraud is when you're receiving a phone call from the so-called bank or financial institution that you're dealing with, and there are some fraudulent transactions going on. So we're going to hear more about that.
I'm Corrie Sirota, along with my co-host, Matt Del Vecchio, and we are talking to Agent Clive Olivier from the Economic Crimes section of the SPVM. And he's sharing some very important information about the latest scams and frauds that are out there and really what we can do to prevent them. So I'm going to ask if you can address the issue of phone calls from financial or bank and all kinds of institutions that are falsely representing banks or financial institutions. What do you suggest we do about that?
Basically, with the identity fraud on the rise, everybody's being hearing it on the news, and they think that the bank or their financial institution will get in contact with them if there's a fraud inside of their account. So they will basically call you, stating that there was the transaction. They think it's a false one, it's a fraud. So if you can provide them with your card details, and they're going to ask you for your PIN, then they will ask you to put everything in an envelope, and somebody from your office or from the police will drop by and pick it up. No banks will ask you over the phone for your PIN code or for your debit card or your credit card number. If they're calling you, they already have your number. Your PIN code is secure with them. They will never ask you for your PIN code. So you never provide that information to anybody, and never put anything into an envelope for anybody. If your card is no longer good, they will ask you to destroy it, not to put it into an envelope for somebody to pick it up.
Interesting.
So,
and you know, so many that we need to talk about. One that is certainly getting popular amongst seniors is something called a grandson scam. And can you tell us a little bit about how these ones present themselves?
Grandson is somebody that's going to call you like their voice is going to be in a panic, and they say, yeah, it's me, grandma, grandpa, I need you and something. And like everybody else, we will provide them with a first name. Is it you, Peter? Yes, it's me. Then they're going to play with that thing, and they're going to say they got involved into an accident somewhere in Montreal or any other city, and they need money to get out of prison. They don't want, they want bail money, and if they don't want to get pursued, they need some money to repair the other car, to repair the damages. There was a kid involved in the accident, so they need to pay for the kid, not to go to jail. It doesn't work like that. If you get into an accident, the police will come. They will file a report. They will never ask you to pay money, not to talk with anybody. They won't ask you to send $9,000, $8,000, $10,000 into an envelope via UPS, FedEx, or any postal services. They will always ask the person to drop by at any police station. So, and they will never ask you for a gag order saying that you don't talk with anybody else, that they want to jeopardize your chances not to get a police report. So that doesn't exist. So if you got that call, hang up and call your nephew yourself.
It's so interesting that you say this, because you're reminding me that about, 5 or so, maybe even longer years ago, someone actually did get my email and send to my entire contact list the fact that I was in the Ukraine and was in trouble and needed $2,000. And it was, it was such a mess. So if you think it can't happen to you, it absolutely can. And while it wasn't me they were asking for money, they were asking from every single contact I knew to send money. So you had half of the people saying, Corrie, you've been hacked, and another half saying, are you okay? So it was messy. And then I was mad at the people that didn't call and say, are you okay? But in any case, thank you for reminding people. It's so important what to do, and that the people are really, they're professionals, right? They're good at this. So similarly, Netflix scams. Talk about those, please.
Netflix. Netflix is the Netflix scam is on the rise. Since we know that Netflix prices are going to change, so people will expect an email from Netflix. So the fraudsters, they're really bright, so they're going to use that as well. So they're going to send you an email who looks like coming from Netflix, and then they're going to tell you that you need to put your financial data in because there's a change in your account, your account is blocked, and any other stuff, and they will give you the link. Click here to update your financial data. And boom, it's done. Netflix will send you an email, yes, saying that the fine prints have changed and stuff like that, and they will ask you to connect to your to the website, to your account. They will not provide you with a link to your financial data to change anything. They will never do that. Actually, no company will do that. Not to your bank, nobody. They will always ask you to go to the website yourself and do it yourself.
Common theme. Just avoid pressing on those links that you're not sure about. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed with Matt and Corrie, and we're talking with Agent Clive Olivier from the Economic Crimes section of the SPVM. We have time for one very quick one, Agent Olivier, and let's talk about identity fraud. You really don't want this to happen to you, but if it does, what do you do?
If you have an identity fraud, whatever the level of it, one credit card, 10,000 cards, you have to file a police report. You might not feel like doing it right now because you have to go to the station and do everything. But in 1-2 years, when there's going to be a recovery company that's gonna call you saying that you own $5,000, $6,000 to another company, you'll be glad to have that police report number. Because with that, they're going to close your case. If you don't have that, then you have to backtrack in time, go back to the police, and then file your report. And it's a bit longer because now the company is not going to really believe you, since if you already frauded in the past, you should have done it. You didn't do it. So now it's kind of too late. So they will put a lot more pressure on you. It happens to everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody can get frauded, so just do it.
Mm-hmm. Clearly. So you just heard about a few that Matt and I have had alone. So anyways, we must thank you so much, Agent Clive Olivier, for sharing such pertinent, important information. It's going to be so valuable to everyone all across the age groups to know just how to protect yourself. So I want to thank you for taking the time on a Saturday to come out and share that information with us.
It's my pleasure. So just don't hesitate to go to your police, to your local police.
All right. Thank you, Agent Olivier. And by the way, we have a link on our Facebook Life Unrehearsed page from the SPVM. It's a wonderful link, tons of resources on how to prevent frauds and scams. All right, Corrie, what do we have coming up on the second half?
How can senior living make your life better during a pandemic? That's coming up during our Helping Moms and Dads segment